Hi everyone, today we are looking at probability with dice, something we are all very familiar with. So we're going to look at the probability of rolling odd numbers, prime numbers, even numbers, composite numbers, and so some of these things we'll review so we're reminded what a prime and composite number are, and kind of looking into more than one dice when you're looking at the probability of rolling two dice at the same time. So just so we're all on the same page, there are six numbers on a single standard dice. To remind us, 2, 4, and 6 are even, and 1, 3, and 5 are odd. Now, 2, 3, and 5 are prime. Remember, these are only numbers that 1 and itself can go into. So 1 and 2 can go into 2, 1 and 3 can go into 5, and only 1 and 5 can go into 5. The numbers 4 and 6 are composite. So the probability of rolling the number 5 is 1 out of 6 because there is only 1 5 out of the 6 possibilities. So the likelihood of what we want this to happen, your favorable outcome is 1. And the total outcomes, the total possible different numbers you could get are 6. The probability of rolling an even number. So remember, there are 3 even numbers. The favorable outcomes is 3 because we could roll 2, 4, or 6. The total number of outcomes is 6 because we're rolling a 6-sided dice, and anything will, one of the 6 will come up. It is also 1/2 because 3 is half of 6. So if you think back to your fractions, the probability of rolling an even number on a 6-sided die is 1/2. The probability of rolling an odd number. So we know that 1, 3, and 5 are our odd numbers. So that is 1, 3, and 5, that's 3. So our favorable outcome is 3. We have a chance of 3 out of the total number of outcomes, 6. Again, we can simplify this fraction to 1/2. So we have a 50% chance of rolling an odd number. Now, the probability of rolling a number greater than 2. So it's not asking for a specific number, specific set, but anything over 2. And so there are 4 numbers. So our favorable outcome is 4, and our total number of outcomes remains 6. Again, you can make an equivalent fraction. So 2/3. You have a 2/3 of a chance rolling a number greater than 2. The probability of rolling a number less than 2. So we only have a 1 chance because less than 2 only leaves us with 1. This fraction cannot be simplified anymore because there's nothing equivalent to 1/6 that is smaller. It's in its simplest form already. Now, prime numbers. Our prime numbers, 2, 3, and 5, that gives us 3 options that we will get for rolling a prime number. And again, our total outcomes, because we're working with a dice, is 6. Again, this can be simplified to 1/2. Now, a composite number, when the number can go into itself. So 2 plus 2 is 4, 3 plus 3 is 6. So those are composite numbers. And there are 2 of them. so our probability is 2 out of 6. Can this be simplified? Yes, to 1/3. So if you had 2 dice, here are the possible outcomes in a grid format. So if I were to roll dice number 1, the chance of getting 1 and a 1. So I put out all of the chances. It is like a times table grid. So these are, see how my number of options for total outcomes has now become 36? When rolling 1 dice, you just had 1 option. But now 1 dice could roll 1, and the other can roll 1 as well, or 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, or 6. So it has significantly increased. So what is the probability of both dice landing on a 2? We know that there are 36 total outcomes because 6 times 6, this is like an array we're filling in, is 36. The probability of a dice landing on a 2, both dice, is 1 out of 36. Because if dice 1 is on 2 and dice 2 is on 2, that's only 1. There's no other option here that gives us 2 and 2. What about the probability of dice landing on numbers 3 and 4? So dice number 2 can roll on a 4 and dice number 1 on a 3, but also the opposite can happen, and dice 1 land on 4 and dice 2 lands on 3. We still have 36 possible outcomes that could happen. So the answer is 2 out of 36, or 1 out of 18. Probability of rolling doubles. So the probability of both dice rolling the same numbers. So you need to look for all of the outcomes that could possibly be doubles, and it creates a lovely pattern like this. So the possible outcomes, the favorable outcomes, is you count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 36. In other words, simplified, 1/6 of a chance. So your total outcomes will remain the same if you try different experiments with rolling the dice. However, your favorable outcomes, the chance of it happening, will vary. The probability of rolling odd number doubles. So it's asking the same, but it's taking away all the even. The probability is reduced by half. The probability getting a sum of 4 on rolling both dice. So you would go through and add the blue and red colors together. We have 4 here, we have 4 here, we have 4 here. You go around and look for all of them. So again, our total outcomes is still the same. You're rolling the dice, both 6-sided die, both of them, so it's 36. And the chance of getting a sum of 4 is still only 3, or 1/12.